What's going on, y'all? We're back, and of course, we're back to talk about all things pro wrestling and sports and pro wrestling. It doesn't even matter which way you want to flip it. And of course, you could even argue pro wrestling is a sport. I absolutely agree with that. We do have to play to the fact that there are those that don't necessarily see it that way, and for good reason, but it is what it is. That's just all there is to it, and we're going to get right into things. I did say before that we're going to get more basketball focused and everything because we've don't as much have any more football right now. At least not until UFL comes back, which I may even get to talking about that also with that being in mind. I did mention sports. I'm pretty sure that with baseball coming back, there's a good chance you'll see me talking about that. I'm actually starting to get more and more into baseball again as time goes by. So definitely look forward to some potential baseball videos. And again, there's also MMA, so a lot of stuff to look forward to. And don't forget about mixed bags and Broncos talk coming soon also. But with that in mind, we're going to go ahead and jump right into things. And I just find it funny that I was just talking Broncos talk. I guess we're doing a little Nuggets talk right now. I'm going to talk about the Joker here, Nikola Jokic, and man, ain't this a dope fucking picture though? I mean, jeez, that's just spectacular shit right there. But anyway, for me, it's just really, really intriguing because after seeing the Nuggets, especially having moved back to Denver, win the NBA championship, I feel like a lot of really special things could be yet to come. For Denver sports in general, of course, the year before that you had the Avalanche winning the Stanley Cup, and of course, the Nuggets follow suit the year after. And now with Bo Nix at the helm here in Denver for the Broncos, I just feel as if the best is yet to come, and of course, we're still dealing with the dead cap hit. Again, Broncos talk yet to come. That being said, I feel as though I can't help but feel impressed by what I've seen from the Nuggets this year. And they're not necessarily on that same trajectory as they were back in 2022, I believe it was, or was it 23? Either way, no, it was 23 because 22 was the Warriors, but anyway, in 2023, what you saw was something that, in all honesty, I can't help but just word it the way that I did at the time. I didn't think we would ever see the Nuggets win an actual NBA championship, much less even getting into the NBA Finals. And again, this is going back to my days, just enjoying Bulls basketball at its absolute finest. I mean, of course, there was hope, but it just seemed like such a long shot. A lot of the drafts weren't going well. Up until Carmelo came along, things just didn't seem like they were going in the right direction. But in the long run, they ultimately have, and a lot of it's thanks to Joker here. But nonetheless, I gotta say the team that they're fielding right now is getting to look more and more impressive. You got Christian Brown in a more expanded role is actually increased scoring, and I mean, in all honesty, I can understand Russell Westbrook in the lineup right now, but I think at some point we gotta have Christian Brown in there with MPJ, Joker, Aaron Gordon, and Jamal Murray, because that, to me, might easily be the most potent version of the Nuggets that you're going to see. And it's going to be very, very interesting to see how they fare in the Western Conference playoffs, because they're going to be a lot better off than a lot of people are inclined to think. If nothing else, I would also go as far as saying that, to me, depending on how this stretch run goes, they may end up being the front runners once again. Who knows? But for right now, you're looking at teams like OKC, Houston, Denver, and even Memphis, for that matter, is as the head of the table right now, and it's all for good reason. Just looking forward to that playoff stretch, and the Nuggets are going to have a lot to do with it. With that in mind, speaking of the playoff stretch, someone that believes the Lakers are going to have something to do with that as well is one Patrick Beverley. Of course, he was recently on a podcast. I'm not going to say which one because I wasn't paying attention to that. But just paraphrasing, he talked about it with having Luka as a great number one and LeBron as a number two, or you could go vice versa and that. And then you got Austin Reeves, who in his opinion is the best number three option. Can't argue with that. Rui Hachimura, best number four option. Not going to argue with that either. But it's not going to all translate so much to where they're going to wind up winning the championship this year. Again, we talked about it. Denver's better. Memphis is better. Houston is better. OKC is better. And you got to think once Kyrie and AD actually get to gelling, that's a real problem right there. And the thing about the Mavericks is that it's not even so much that they're a problem for this year. They're going to be a problem for the next couple years as well. Because as long as AD and Kyrie are healthy and they actually maintain the core that they have on that Mavericks roster, it's going to be tough to imagine a whole lot of teams having an easy go against the Dallas Mavericks. Certainly not the Lakers. I mean, in the coming years, definitely. But they're still a couple of pieces away. Same as the Golden State Warriors, who I'll talk about a little bit more here and in another video. But as far as where the Lakers are concerned right now, I don't see it this year. They're definitely going to make some noise in the playoffs, but that's as good as that's actually going to get. And, you know, could they prove me wrong? Absolutely. Anything can happen in the playoffs. But realistically speaking, I don't necessarily see it being the Lakers. That being said, I do got to talk about Kevin Durant here. Of course, I've made it clear in several videos in the past, I've been a pretty avid watcher of ESPN's First Take. They actually had played the interview with Malika Andrews and Kevin Durant, and of course he talked about his decision to not go back to Golden State when there was an opportunity for him to during the trade deadline. And honestly, he said he didn't want to get traded in the middle of the season, which I absolutely have to agree with. And of course wanting to see it through, as he also put it. I don't see it any other way. As far as I'm concerned, if the Suns actually get it figured out, they're just as much a factor in the West as anybody else. Especially because when you actually look at what they've been doing recently, if you've seen what they've had with Bol Bol recently, I mean, this dude actually has something to him, and he still needs to actually add some muscle and maybe even a little bit of strength to him, but dude is looking every bit the shot blocker that his father was, and he's not even nearly as tall. I mean, 7'2", that's nothing to sneeze at, but he ain't no 7'6" like Manute was. All the same, like, he's a far more complete version of Manute Bol than Manute Bol ever could have been, which is interesting because Manute Bol actually wound up shooting threes towards the end of his career. But all that being said, you know, with what you got there, coupled with Durant and Booker, who, honestly, if they're not able to make this work, I think it's rebuilding time for the Phoenix Suns. And I'm going to talk about this another time. I feel like Devin Booker needs to be elsewhere, specifically Chicago. Look forward to that at a later date and time. But for me right now, I just feel as if for Durant, he's still every bit as much an X factor as anybody else in the league. And all it takes is just getting hot at the right time. It literally just comes down to that. Is getting hot at the right time. That's just how sports are. And hell, I mentioned pro wrestling also in that same vein. That's why I also see pro wrestling as a sport, because when you got a hot commodity that's just tearing it up right now, a la Jey Uso, how do you not go to the hot hand? How do you not? And more often than not, this dude's very much going to be the hot hand along with Devin Booker. But that's all I'm going to say on that one there. I'm going to leave it at that for now. Let me know what y'all think. Did KD make the right decision? Should he have gone back to Golden State? I mean, I just don't like the idea of it. And speaking of First Take, Chris Mad Dog Russo said it best. It would have looked like he needed the Warriors in the long run, and I don't like that narrative for KD. So I'm with it. I'm absolutely with it. But y'all know what it is. Like I said, let me know what y'all think down below. Like, share, subscribe if y'all enjoy. And with that in mind, this has been your time with AJ, and I thank you for spending it with me.